very good at artistically. They carve things and they make things out of sagebrush and wood and things. So they really had to be told, don't go wandering out because the soldiers have orders to shoot if they think they're escaping. You know. And the Japanese old men didn't understand where are we going to go from here. You just nothing but sagebrush. But so it was, I would say, an interesting experience in a way. But I wouldn't want to go to it again. Yes?
Just want to know, what do you guys feel that, or how do you guys feel when you found out that your own country got bombed from the country that your ancestors come from?
Our feelings about when the order came to evacuate, as a teenager, I couldn't understand this. The older Niseis could not agree to this, being U.S. citizens. The parents, who are basically aliens, they weren't permitted citizenship until after the war. And as far as my mother and father felt, they felt something was going to happen to them because they are Japanese. They were Japanese citizens. There was war with Japan, so they didn't know what would happen to them. But they couldn't understand why the citizens were being put into camps.
Mr. Hiromura, I think also Mr. Chris was asking about when you heard about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the fire bombings that had occurred in Japan, did you feel conflicted at all with your family having come from there?
We were just as indignant as, you know, we felt like all the Americans, how could they do such a thing? And, you know, our feelings are American. I mean, we weren't raised in Japan or anything. So we thought as Americans, you know, if somebody came and hit you, the way you would react would be the same.
My first trip to Japan was in 1963 or 64. And the first sight I had when I got off the airplane, I told my wife, look at all of the Japanese. I've never seen so many in my life. Because that's all they were at the airport. You know, it's quite illuminating.
Other questions for our speakers?
I have a question.
Yep.
Were there any restrictions on the news while you were in the camps, in the internment camps? Were you given newspapers?
Oh, no. When we went into camp, we weren't allowed radios, cameras, binoculars. Today, we wouldn't be allowed cell phones or electronic equipment. So we had absolutely nothing.
But we did sneak in a few.
Well, I'm sure.
My father was diabetic, so he
But yes, we had no knowledge of what was going on outside of the camp. The community made a community newspaper, but it was only about people in the camp. The only way you got news outside the camp is if someone came in with a newspaper from outside and brought it in, you know, such as the workers.
Mr. Hiromura, I understand that you're going to the White House this year as a representative.
My understanding is the Congressional Gold Medal was issued to the veterans of the 442nd Military Intelligence School veterans. And this award is being presented sometime in October, they think, in Washington, D.C. And my wife has asked me to sign up to go. And so we are looking forward to, health-wise, hoping to go. You know?
One of the reasons is that most of the other 442nd people are so old they can hardly walk.
Yes, I'm one of the younger.
So, you know, in case they need someone to represent them or talk or something, it would be good to have one able-bodied.
I think we have some questions over here.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel different about the American government after you guys had left the camp? Since they put you guys in that?
As a teenager, you know, I felt very bad that we had to leave. You know, we picked up and left our friends, and we had to develop new friends that were strictly Japanese, you know. And so it was, in that sense, it was very difficult. You had no contact with them. So it's like just closing the book when you left work. And I didn't really get back until 47 years later, which is a life.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just out of curiosity, how were you guys treated after the whole incident, or after like 1945? After you guys came out of the camp?
Well, after, you mean after the surrender?
Yeah, after like everything.
Well,
was done.
my feelings were, I was now in New York. I wasn't here. And New York is a whole different story from the Northwest, because just a mob of people there. I think there was less prejudice there, because just the amount of people that, and you're just a minute portion of it. It was made up of just mostly Europeans, immigrants from Europe. Very few Orientals. In fact, many of the Japanese that were New Yorkers, that were born in New York, didn't even know about what was going on the West Coast. So it was, the feeling was entirely different.
Well, we've learned in history that the Japanese were told that they were sent to the camps for protection from the outside. What was the feeling when you first showed up to the camp and known that you were being held in instead of being protected from the outside?
I think.
I can maybe rephrase that. So he's asking, one of the justifications for the camps was it was for protection.
So they said.
Yeah. So I think the question is, did you
one
accept
question,
that
could
at all?
I
Did
ask
you feel
all
that was
of you?
true at all?
If the government said you have to go to camp, what would be your reaction? Would you go quietly? Would you fight it? Would you argue? Would you say, well, okay, set off?
So you didn't feel that it was that there was any danger to you being of Japanese ancestry?
Well, our only danger was for the people who lived around them might say, well, you Jap and attack us.
Was there
So
some
in
of
a
that
way,
before?
it was sort of for a protection of sorts.
Well, I think when the war broke out, a number of businesses put up no Japs allowed.
Yeah.
And a lot of Chinese made signs saying, I am Chinese.
And Korean.
So I myself, as a teenager, never encountered any type of racial